Welcome to this CEO 101, where new people who just joined GitLab can ask me questions. Daniel, thanks for making the first question. Can you verbalize it? I don't see Daniel on the call, so let's go to Yannick.
I said, yeah, sure. I was wondering, in the last decades, we have seen vision control systems come and go, Git by far being the most popular today. Do you think Git is here to stay? Is there something about Git you think that could be improved?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think the performance of Git with large binaries has been below par. And there was Git LFS to fix this. There was Git virtual file system. But I think what's happening is that Git itself is just getting improved to the point where it's not an issue anymore. So that's exciting. And I thought a couple of years ago that Git would be the backend for more collaboration systems. But the trend you're seeing is that it's moving to more of a SaaS model with products like Figma. And to resolve kind of the real-time nature of the updates, that people are more looking at CRDTs to do that. Cool, Val?
I'm interested to hear, if you were given the opportunity to travel back in time to experience but not change a historical event, what would you like to do or witness firsthand, and for what reason?
I'd go very far back in time. There's a lot of, one of the hardest things to preserve is sound. So of a lot of languages, we don't know the pronunciation. Of a lot of, before there was kind of recorded and written down history, there's a lot of things we don't know. So I'd go back to something like that. And I don't know if I'd have to pick an event. You start thinking about time, and we, in the Western world, we measure time since Christ. So that would make sense as an event to go to.
Thank you.
Sheila.
Hey Sid, nice to meet you. I'm just curious to know, like, which is your favorite city and why?
Yeah, thanks. I guess I have two favorite cities. One of them is San Francisco, and it's because of the people who live here. San Francisco has a high density of people who are very talented and ambitious, and the ecosystem here makes it possible for those people to realize those ambitions, and that's very cool to see. Now, before I came here, I lived in Utrecht, which is like Amsterdam, but then with fewer tourists and much more compact, and that's a very fun city to live in. So there's a house there, and you can stay there for free if you're ever in the neighborhood and claim it early enough.
Wow, awesome. Thanks, Sid.
Or a house. It's my house, and it's open to GitLab team members. Cool. It's got a CEO house in the handbook. Megan.
Hey, Sid. I've been here at GitLab for about 3 months, and I'm already starting to see some really cool things that I'm proud to be a part of. And I was just wondering, from your experience with all the growth and achievements that GitLab has, is there anything that you're most proud of? I know that's kind of like saying what your favorite child is, but is there any accomplishment or anything that you want to call out that you were super excited about?
It's a great question, and obviously it's hard to choose between the great team that we've built, between the revenue we've achieved, the valuation that other people attach to the company, between the customers we help, between the 1 million paid users that we have. But I think one thing sticks out to me. When I pitched GitLab, when we were raising our seed round, I said, look, we're going to charge $1,000 per user per year. And at that time, we were charging $20 per user per year. And no one in that room, except for me, believed that we could achieve that. And I wasn't completely sure. It seemed like an easy number to calculate the total addressable market with, or the specific addressable market. But we did that. And we now have companies after discounts at volume paying that because we made something that's very, very valuable to them. And that's, I think, one metric I'm very, very proud of.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Leandro.
Hi, Sid. Appreciate the time. So I was, you look at the history of Git and some of the things that Linus did and Tom Preston did with GitHub. So Git index, it's a great innovation in Git. And then I think Tom saw the opportunity of hosting repos, and that's part of the reason why he created GitHub. I was wondering what was it that you saw in GitLab that prompted you to create the .com version? What was the opportunity?
Yeah. Do you mean Git web or do you mean Git index? And if so, can you explain what Git index is?
So one of the things that I think what initially Git did was to develop this whole index system, right? Git index, in order to keep track of versions, as I understand it, right? So Linus took it from, I think there was something called
Bitkeeper.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know exactly what happened, but he went from there, and I guess there was an argument, and he decided to create Git. And one of the things initially that a lot of developers liked was the whole process of Git index.
So yeah. I think Git index isn't a thing as far as I know. I think one of the acronyms for Git is Global Information Tracker, but I think that came up later, and there's an interesting origin story of where Git came from. But the thing that you used on top of Git to see projects, to have a web interface, is called Git Web. That's where the game GitHub wholly originated from. And that was certainly an inspiration for our name. And I didn't create GitLab. Dimitri did,
right.
My co-founder, or our co-founder. And he did it because he needed something like that. He was in the Ukraine. He had no running water and no good collaboration software at work. And he decided to fix the collaboration software. That wasn't the budget. He wanted something like GitHub. He thought, how hard can it be? I'll just make it myself. And that's what he set out to do. And in the first year, 300 people started contributing to that project. I saw it only then, a year later. And I thought, oh, this makes a ton of sense. All the software I use is open source, and then especially the collaboration software, you'd expect that to be something you can contribute back to. And that's why I started GitLab.com.
Oh, I think Git index is a process, right?
I'm not sure what it is.
Changes. Yeah. Anyways.
Cool. Thanks for the question. Katie?
Yeah, I would like to know more about our partnerships with IBM and Atlassian and where you see those going.
Yeah. In general, I think we should make sure, although we make a product for the entire life cycle, wherever we can partner, that's better. We have a lot of customers, for example, using Jira, and we're making that experience better. So I'm excited about that. And then IBM purchased Red Hat, and Red Hat is one of the two major hybrid cloud players, where you have some of your compute happen on your own data centers and some of it in the public cloud. So excited to partner with them on OpenShift. And with OpenShift, that's their way to run Kubernetes, and we want to make sure that GitLab works really well with that. And I'm excited. For example, we have GitOps now in GitLab. We have an agent on the Kubernetes cluster, And we're working to make GitLab very easy to install on OpenShift with an operator. So
Yeah.
lots of
Okay, well,
exciting things. And that's about the extent that I can comment in a public stream.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. Brian.
Thanks, Sid. Brian Robbins. You're an avid learner, and I know every year there are some things that come up that are key learnings for you at GitLab. And I'd just be curious, what are the key learnings you'd like to share with the group from this year?
Ooh, this year, 2020. It's the year of the pandemic. So I think one revelation this year has been what a single person can do to help create awareness for GitLab. And that was because of the pandemic, the whole world needed to work remote. But if you look at how Darren Murph, just by himself, has been able to create a ton of materials from our handbook and promote that, it's been amazing. So I think we're sitting on 8,000 pages of rich ore in the form of our handbook. And I think we need more miners to mine that, to make that comprehensible and start promoting that content. And the next step will be to get an advocate in the people team, because I think we have a lot of innovative people practices, but I think we should do that throughout the company. If you see, for example, in your department, Brian Wise and many other people have been working hard at making our tech stack written in YAML. Just the fact that we have that public, what software we use, has been amazing. I think I got like 100 retweets. We got a top 3 Hacker News post. And that was just a list without any context, without any explanations, without anything. So imagine, like, just by, we're public about things, but then every time we distill that, it becomes a lot more valuable and concentrated and a lot more like viral in the non-pandemic sense of the word. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there to create more awareness for GitLab. And I think that will help with not only recruiting great talent, but also putting GitLab on the radar as the leading DevOps platform.
Great, thank you.
Brian, or Byron, sorry.
No worries. Thanks. Yeah, I was wondering for your actual days off, like what do you do for a cheat day where you actually just don't really want to do GitLab for the day? Like what do you do? Yeah, so I tend to not work on weekends, like 95% of the time. So this weekend was an example. We invited a friend over. In the Saturday afternoon was a friend over. Saturday night was hanging around the pool. Saturday morning, I went to brunch with my wife and we went by bike. And we had a flat. We were very proud of repairing that in 10 minutes because we did have a brunch appointment with other people. And Sunday we did some gardening work. I'm super into gas-powered appliances for the garden, and then chainsaws and trimmers and stuff like that. So that's what I try to do. And if I have a cheat day, the friends and family day feels a bit like a cheat day. Ideally, I work on some other initiatives that I do outside of GitLab, and I sit in Bath with a book, reading Sapiens now. Thanks for asking. Stefan.
Hi, Sid. It's Stephen Duggan. I'm based in Ireland, so my question is kind of, when GitLab started as a remote company, did you ever think there would be so many people from so many different countries working for GitLab? And has it surprised you?
Yeah, no, I didn't expect it to be this big. We joined YC. In the beginning, we thought we can maybe in 5 years, we'll have 50 people working on this, and that'd be great. At some point, we upped our expectations, but I didn't think it would be this big, and especially not this geographically dispersed with people in over 60 countries. we're feeling the strain of that a little bit. In people ops, it's now like, okay, if we're going to do outbound recruiting, let's focus on the people, the countries who already have people in. So I think this is the max for now. But that's already kind of pushing it. I think there's few companies that have this many countries per employee as a ratio. And that's it's really cool. And it's because we just opened it up to the majority of the world and said, hey, apply to GitLab. We can probably make something work.
Cool. And just on the Irish entity goes live on the 1st of November, which you probably know. So that's kind of cool. So there's a lot of us, we're third-party contractors, but no, it's as of the 1st of November, there's an official GitLab Irish entity. So we're all looking forward to that.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Brian, thanks for asking.
Thanks, Sid. Who do you admire as a great leader or role model?
I kind of want to not idolize certain people. I think all people have pros and cons. I do think there's two practices I really admire, and one of is a practice that is at Amazon, where they've been able to go in not even an adjacent business, like a totally new business with AWS.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying that with Meltano, and I'm seeing how tough that is to just, I don't know, get compensation sorted and things like that for a new initiative in an existing company. And I'm really struggling there. So I have a lot of respect for their ability to do that. And the other practice I want to call out is iteration with hardware. We iterate at GitLab. We reduce scope and then quickly ship. SpaceX has been able to do that with rocket ships, where they make a new model every month. That is extremely hard. I've built submarines before. There's long lead times on everything. Submarines are a lot easier than rockets because they don't have to fly. And I'm really in awe of how fast they've been able to iterate there. I don't think anybody thought you could do that with physical hardware. Everyone thought it was only possible in the design, not in the hardware phase. So kudos to that company.
Absolutely.
Katie?
Yes, my question is, what part of the sales cycle is most exciting to you? Is it, kind of like even before you talk to the customer, or I've heard you also sometimes join calls with sales, especially when they're at the CTO level. But I was just wondering if you could comment on that. What part just excites you about talking to customers and potential customers?
Yeah, it's like asking what your favorite child is. Like it's an unfair question.
Yeah,
all of the parts are interesting. I think in general, I'm not in enough sales calls, so I'd be happy to join. Please don't preserve my time or something like that. Even if it's a smaller customer, I'd be happy to join any sales call. And then I think the sales cycle that I'm most looking forward to is PQLs, where we got product qualified leads, like people who through using the product kind of express interest in more and making that a successful handoff with sales. I think we're just getting started there, but that's I'm very interested in making that work well, because I think it can be a big lever for our business. Thanks for asking. Lydia.
In September of this year, Gartner published the market guide for DevOps value stream delivery platforms. It seems as though, and do you feel as though this is an endorsement or validation of the GitLab one platform model, like that GitLab essentially started this? And do you feel, or how do you feel we can capitalize on this new category the best?
Yeah, I certainly see this as, thanks for asking. It's super important. I'm really excited by it. Yeah. It's for sure validation. We've been saying, hey, you don't want 10 point solutions. You want one DevOps platform. That's now being validated. They see it growing from 10% to 40% over the next 3 years. So even without capturing more market share, which we will, there's already great kind of revenue growth in our future. and I think we should capitalize on it. And I didn't see anything happening with the article. So I said, okay, I have a suggestion for a blog post, and the team is working on that now. And the title is going to be How Camille Created a New Software Category from Poland.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for joining GitLab, everyone, and thanks for the questions. Appreciate it. Have a good time. And if you don't have a good time, feel free to DM me what's wrong.
Thanks, Sid.
See ya.